Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B. The last 24 hours have been in very intense energy. It kind of feels like a cocktail of just everything. Everything all at once and nothing at all. On an awakening, there are these purges that keep occurring over and over again, squeezing out all of the heavier, denser energy that aren't in alignment with our highest and greatest self. And I was explaining that a good bit in yesterday's Zoom call. Unfortunately, Mercury being in retrograde, the recording didn't do its thing. My computer ended up crashing because a call came in right when the recording was trying to, whatever. I don't know. No recording, sorry. So no highlights this week for that. So I can talk a little bit about what I was talking about in regards to purges, because I divided the meeting up into 4 subcategories, the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And we kind of focused on how each of those areas was currently being affected with the energy. And last night, as if perfectly timed, I myself went into some extreme symptoms that accompany a Kundalini awakening. And how I described it is if you think of the auric field, so we've got our body, and then just outside of our body is the etheric, and then we have the emotional, and then we have the mental realms, and then we have the spiritual, and then we have the astral. So we were really huge. We've got this huge auric field of energy, and there's multiple layers within each of those layers. So there's as we go from dense out further and further and further into the astral, where we become much more fine, vibrationally tuned. And that's why some people who could be described as having a large aura or big presence. I immediately think of the Dalai Lama. You could put him in a stadium and he just emanates out, where somebody who has a depleted energetic footprint, who's really depressed and down, it shuts off. Now, I personally don't see auras. I think people who do are amazing, and if you do, that's a beautiful gift indeed to have. But I do sense auras, and I've done a lot of work in the auric field, doing Reiki work, Reiki healing. So I kind of specialize, as you know, in trauma from the School of Life, and the way that I have come to understand how it kind of works is in our childhood, in our not yet developed, psychologically developed state, we'll have experiences that we can't process at the time. So what happens is like the trauma file becomes compressed, and then we put it out into the cloud. We send that out into our cloud, and it's stored out there in our etheric and in our astral, in all these outside of ourselves. We're going to just store it in the cloud, in a zip file, in a compressed file, and that's where it's going to stay. And on this awakening, what happens is it's because we're going through all these upgrades, the system's like, you need to purge what's in your auric field. So if you want to picture like a beautiful auric field, and then also all these little black dots, black spots, those are like the files, all the little files that are held. And in this awakening, what happens is those files are sent back into us and said, okay, now it's time to deal with it. So they get sent back into the body, and that manifests out as aches, pains, colds, flus, diseases, illnesses, discomforts, anything like that, because that's how the body is communicating to you. Hey, this file has been downloaded into the body, and now it's time to deal with it. We've been putting it off for too long, and now it needs to be addressed. So I'm going to make myself known to you by creating discomfort, pain, and all kinds of other symptoms. So for me personally, throughout my entire awakening, I've had many illnesses, as you know. I went through a kind of pre-awakening phase where it was just one illness after another illness after another illness. And then throughout my awakening, on the physical, I've had many types of purges. I went through a phase when I had my diabetes where, my kidneys were desperately trying to flush and not keeping up with things, resulting in incontinence. I've had sinus issues. I'm still having sinus tooth issues at play. There's been times where I've had stomach upset, and I know every little home remedy there is for all kinds of symptoms because I've experienced them. And that's one reason why I do my channel is to help people who are going through difficult awakening symptoms and not knowing how to deal with them. So, for example, getting the kidneys functioning and getting the diabetes functioning, I went low carb. I started eating cranberries. I cleaned the liver by eating lots of lemons, and so I've altered my diet dramatically. And the things that I used to consume, I no longer consume. And because we've become more and more hypersensitive, our body is saying, "Hey, pay attention. You've got to deal with whatever this is, and it's time. It's time." So right now, I'm experiencing excruciating pain, all in my low back, all the glute muscles, and I would have experienced a lot of trauma there because I was spanked quite a lot as a child. All down my thighs, which the IT bands, and when we are little and we're being raged at, we stand firm, we stand steady. And so in that stance, we become rigid. It's like being on a subway car. We're trying to hold steady while all this energy is happening, and hold ourselves together. So these traumas, couldn't deal with them, I'm going to send them out. So now they've come lodged back into my body, and they're expressing themselves, I'm going to say that word again, because we're expressing these things out of us through the sensations of them, through our feelings, not just feelings on the physical, but then that then moves into the emotional. So what I've been doing for myself at the present moment in time, and then I've got pain here. So it's just pain. Like my body is just like, ow, screaming at me right now. So I've been doing a lot of trigger point therapy. I have done a lot of videos on trigger point therapy. Please check those out in the body playlist. I've been doing the silicone suction cups, and pulling out. I've also been using some, creams. Word to the wise, please don't take a bath after you've used capsicum cream. I found that out the hard way today. I thought it was fine. It was a couple of days ago that I used it, so I had assumed the pepper had worn off. No, it reactivates in the bath, so right now my legs are like burning. But that's okay. It is what it is. And I'm using a whole bunch of home remedies to deal with this situation that's happening. So on the physical, our body is screaming at us, and our old way of being is to ignore it or deny it or repress it, use Tylenol or power through or have another cup of coffee, and I can push through this exhaustion. And on this awakening, it's like, no, you can't do that. You need to deal with it. You need to address it. You need to sit in it. The time's up. Tick, tick, tick. This is when we're clearing this stuff out, so that we're not only purging our auric field, we're purging it through the body. Okay, so we are the filtration system for our experiences. The experiences were too much. We sent them out into the cloud, and now your cloud is full, and you need to clear out the cloud and clean up your files so that you can upload a new program. You know, when you are downloading it sometimes on your computer, it says you don't have enough disk space to download this upgrade. So then you're like, oh, okay, great. So that's what we're doing. We're clearing out the old so we can download a new operating system. And after the physical symptoms, and there are many, you know, dizziness, confusion. Well, confusion is more an emotion, but headaches, sinus issues. As I said, our body purges only so many ways. Our nose, our ears, our mouth, our bowels, our urine, our sweat. So if anything is being activated on the physical, that's because you're expressing out something that needs to go. And then the next thing that happens is when you start dealing with the physical, is the emotional stuff starts to surface as well. So what's been accompanying me with all this low back pain and pain down the sides is fear. And more grief. So fear around ability to survive, fears associated with money. So this is all root chakra stuff. And our root chakra is our ability to provide for ourselves stability, security, safety in the world. It is our foundation. So for me personally, there's root chakra stuff happening. There's still throat chakra stuff happening, and there's still heart chakra stuff happening. So identifying kind of where in the body stuff is playing out for you will give you a little bit of a heads up to what energetic center is being purged. And I do have a chakra playlist. I made those videos years ago. I keep saying I'm going to make more chakra videos, and I do intend to get around to those as soon as Spirit gives me the green light. Because once I start talking chakras, I can talk 10 hours on each chakra. And, well, I don't know if any of you want to watch a 10-hour video. Maybe if you're neurodivergent like me. But then you're probably neurodivergent like me if you're watching me anyways, because otherwise you're like, why is she talking so long instead of just doing a 60-second video? I don't know how people do 60-second videos. It's really challenging to me. Anyways, that's a subtopic. The emotional realm associated with the root chakra is all about, feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling like I can provide. And, my house situation ties into this, and it's supposed to be, and I've heard a million times already, so I'm not getting too caught up with it, but it's supposed to be getting resolved in the next week. And that's frightening. So fears around money, fears around survival, fears around stuff like that. And then at the same time, because it's like getting hit in 3 centers all at once instead of like bouncing around. At the same time, my heart is just doing its thing. And I've done a lot of videos on heart purges and heart expansions with the physical pain in the heart, the feeling of the grief, the profound longing, and the missing. Most definitely, anyone who's on the twin flame journey knows it doesn't matter how long you've been on the journey and how you're getting on with your life and everything's fine, and then all of a sudden you get hit with one of these like tornadoes and you're like, oh, I miss them, I wonder what they're doing, I hope they're okay. And yeah, so that's been a whole bunch of crazy my attitudes around love are being reviewed. My attitudes around relationship are being reviewed. My attitudes around this. And so when I talk about attitudes, I move next into the mind, because then the mind is trying to make sense of everything that's going on. Emotions are purging. Fears, grief, maybe you're experiencing loneliness, maybe you're experiencing despair, maybe you're worried about your own ability, because there is a huge collective consciousness right now, and there is a theme that's happening in the collective in regards to fears and money, as well as fears and love are two that keep getting reported back to me a lot, and fears surrounding, being able to weather through the constant storms. It's like, this ever going to end? And so that also is our attitude towards this experience that we're in. And so our thoughts and beliefs around each individual experiencing that we're having, and it's so many all at the same time, as well as the bigger picture of what is happening. This twin journey is all kinds of crazy. Kundalini awakenings are all kinds of crazy. Spiritual awakenings, I assume, are a little bit smoother, but even those have highs and lows, and it's all about rising up into a higher degree of consciousness, bringing the shadow. So all those little shadow bits out into the light, but they go out into the light through us. We have to transmute it through us. We are this filtration system. And so it's through feeling, and I've done 101 videos on the importance of feeling, and not allowing ourselves to beat ourselves up while feeling, being gentle and kind and understanding and accepting. And that's the key, is in the acceptance that, this is what God needs me to do right now, or spirit, or whatever word you want to use. So last night I was having nightmares. I couldn't sleep. I'm crying. I'm in pain. It's like everything all at the same time, and you just have to understand and be kind and say, this too shall pass. You're okay. A lot of self care, and a lot of gentle reparenting energy. Because it gets dark. It gets very, very dark. And I want to say, because one of the things that worries or concerns me the most is oftentimes people in the dark, that's in the shadows, when the shadows are coming back in and going out, is they're afraid to say to anyone, I'm struggling. And so on my awakening journey, I have been very open and very, telling everybody everything. And it's not because my ego liked that, because my ego didn't. I would have also been much rather preferred to be isolating and to not communicate, and only ever show myself in high vibes, and only ever be happy, and let the world think I had all my shit together. And my ego has fought this mission, but there is a purpose to it. There's a reason why I let you know that I am suffering. There's a reason why I let you know why, I'm feeling grief today, or I'm feeling loss today, or I'm having longing today, or and that's one, so people feel less alone, because this journey can feel very isolating. Two, so you feel less afraid that you're doing something wrong, or you're failing in any way. You're not. Awakenings are very, very difficult. So you're not failing if you're not accomplishing all of the things you used to accomplish in your life. And trust me, I understand, because I myself am like, I used to be able to do this, and look at these piles of stuff that still need to get sorted through. And it's not failing when what you're doing is such profound healing work, as you're transmitting all of these wounds and traumas through you to clear yourself and raise your consciousness, um, pro-magnum man didn't overnight become Renaissance man, like jumps in evolution have happened throughout our history of humanity, and those jumps take time, and that's what you're doing. You're in the process of going, hey, wait a second, this rock that I use as a tool could easily maybe get this bronze. Maybe I could melt it. How do I melt it? I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to fail a few times in trying to figure out how to turn this bronze into a tool. Like we're in one of those massive jumps right now, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to feel arduous and difficult and overwhelming, especially when we become more heightened on the spiritual realm to the interconnectedness of everyone, and you're picking up on others' energies as well as your own. So you're not just processing you're processing collective energies. And in the collective, especially of those that haven't even begun their awakening path, then there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear in the collective right now, and that's one reason why we are hermited in isolation and not in constant interactions with people, because of the hypersensitivities leave us too open to absorb other people's stuff like a sponge. So many of you guys might find yourself in isolation, and that's for your protection, and that's for your greatest good, regardless of what your mind says. And your mind fights this process because your mind likes the status quo. Your mind likes the way that everything happened before, with a plan and understanding and knowledge. And this is about letting go of all of that and not having those things, instead replacing it with faith and trust and presence and mindfulness and all of these types of energies that are soul-based energies. So we're hopping between an egoic way of being into a soul way of being. And if that happened over one night, I don't know, we'd all blow up. It takes time to process through all of these denser energies. So learning to have patience with ourselves and learning to be gentle with ourselves is very important. And then the third reason why I share willy-nilly my stories and my truths and my experiences and what works and what hasn't worked for me is to help people in any way, shape, or form that I can, whether that be, recommending a type of tea to help calm their nerves, or something as severe as dealing with really, really dark, intrusive thoughts. And I know how overwhelming this process can be. It's called ego death. It's not called ego walk through the park. Ego death. It is just that. It's a collapse. It's a tower. It's destruction. It's devastation. It's losing so many things. And in that process, many people feel like giving up. So I keep showing up as a means to say, please don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going. I'm keeping going. And you're keeping going, and together we're keeping each other going, knowing, like, I had some feedback yesterday of, what my channel has been providing for some other people, and it blew my mind, because I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm not getting enough out there. I feel like, I definitely feel like I'm a nervous wreck when it comes to my finances, because this is still, in seedling stages. I'm not bearing fruit yet. and it's about having faith that spirit is leading this. So to have feedback that, yes, my messages are assisting other people feel less alone, give them tools and strategies, as well as giving just that tiny little bit of hope and motivation to keep going, as in, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not anyone that is more special than anyone else. Like I'm not a superhero. I'm certainly not a celebrity. I don't seek fame. A little bit of fortune might be nice. I wouldn't turn that down, but I'm not doing this for my popularity. I'm doing this because I don't want to lose another friend. And even if, we've never met and we live apart, you're important to me. Every single one of you out there is important to me. I have so much love to everyone who's struggling on this journey, because from my own experience, I know how painful the process is. And it's through the suffering that we are learning. It is through the suffering serves us. It's not pleasant. Misery isn't pleasant, but it is serving us in accelerating our enlightenment. And if you want to understand more about suffering, I highly recommend, getting into some Buddhism and Buddha's teachings, because the Four Noble Truths are all about suffering and understanding that is the path. That is the path. So if you're suffering, you are on the path. You are doing the warrior work, and it's not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel miserable. And so in the misery, know that you're doing something powerful, even though it may feel like in your 3D world, you're not doing enough. Trust me, you're doing more than enough. You're doing more than enough. You're doing more than you can possibly know. I wanted to also talk a little bit about the collective fear, and really strongly advise people to not get too caught up in it. Turn off the television, the news channels, stop watching or reading the news, stop getting yourself involved in all of the debates that are keeping you distracted outside of yourselves. And come inside to yourself to do your own work to help the best way to help the collective is to not get involved in the dualistic arguing and fear-based stuff. And it comes back to exactly what I was just talking about in regards to suffering. You yourself on an awakening path are no stranger to suffering, and it's through suffering that you have become more and more awoken. So you're awakening yourself to mistruths, you're awakening yourself to your own life, you're awakening to provide yourself with more love and compassion. So understand that whatever's happening out there, if there's fear and there's suffering and there's misery, that too is serving to help people awaken. If everything was a-okay, then nobody would awaken. Everybody who is on this awakening path is familiar with the loss of financial security, and I talked about this in a recent video, or the loss of a house, or the loss of a job, or the loss of stability, the loss of security, the loss of family, the loss of marriages, the loss of friendships, the loss of pets, the loss. And what does all of that have in common? It is suffering. So in the outer world, if people are losing things, and those things can include, those false senses of safety and false senses of security and false senses, that's because this is a mass awakening. It needs to get bad enough so that people awaken. And so this is serving us. So there's looking at the situation from the 3D of, oh no, this is really scary. And then there's taking a step back and saying, hey, wait a second. In my own life, I was faced with scary, and I was faced with loss, and I was faced with suffering. And it has served me to become a different human being. I am a healthier, more consciously aware, more loving, kind, compassionate human being through this process of awakening. So if you see suffering outside of yourself in the world out there, don't allow yourself to get too caught up with the story, because the energy is what is happening is to help facilitate humanity as a whole to wake up. Nobody wakes up without suffering. Nobody, there is not going to be a jump into Age of Aquarius en masse without going through the process of some suffering. Each individual has to go through their own suffering. So yes, people will lose their homes. People will lose financial security. People will be displaced and moved. People will be, there will be major shifts. And those are all leading them to where they need to be for their highest and greatest good as well. So I'm just tacking that on because, as I said, this fear right now in the collective it's overwhelming my system, and I understand things, from my own personal bubble, but I also understand things from the wider, the bigger bubble, the bigger stuff that's at play. And so I mentioned in my oracle read yesterday that if you want to visualize like bubble wrap, humanity as bubble wrap, and each individual person is in their own bubble, and we have right now a collective of a lot of people jumping up and down inside their bubble, freaking out, what's happening, life's collapsing, and this, that, and the other. And if we join them, then it's just adding more chaos and confusion into this. But if instead those of us that are awakening withdraw from the jumping up and down and sit down in our bubble and do our own healing work and do our own, yes, we're going to feel the bumps and the shifts of the collective. But we can steady ourselves much easier sitting down on the ground than we can, being in that stoic stance of that caused, that was the stance that I lived in my whole life, was being all in the ready with tightened glute muscles and piriformis muscles. And so yes, we need to learn to just sit in it and let the waves slowly work themselves out, because you're setting an example by how you're being, not by what you need to go and do. Nobody needs education, as in you don't need to be standing on a soapbox screaming this or that, or posting, wake up everybody, people will wake up in their own time, in their own way, with their own experience of suffering. So our job is to sit quietly and self-soothe and reparent and meditate and pray and eat healthy foods and self-care. And then the people that are bouncing around us might look over and go, how are you not freaking out? How are you not panicking? And then we go, oh, well, you see, I know that this is what I can control. This is what I have control over. It is me and my healing and Would you like some tips? No? Okay. And then they come back again and they're like, okay, maybe one of those tips. And you're like, okay, well, if you're worried about things, maybe you want to start by turning the television off. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, no problem. I'm going to go back to just being me here. And then they might come back and they'll be like, what did you say about that diet that you were on and low sugar and low carb? I'm struggling. Maybe I'll try it now. And then you go, okay, well, this is what I meant. Oh no, I don't want to give up that or that. And you're like, okay. And then they might come back. So you can't force anyone else around you to do anything. It's the paradox of we teach by being. We heal by feeling and experiencing. We get into presence and stillness by being in the now. There's 1,000,001 spiritual teachers out there that will tell you all the steps on the way, and I'm trying my very best to give you those little tidbits in packaged in a way that sounds a lot less intimidating and a lot less overwhelming, because it is possible. It's foretold. It's destiny. We are all awakening, whether people want to or not. And so that's the resistance. And so I remind you of the theory of addictions, that people need to hit their rock bottom for their needs to be changed. And that applies for an individual, and that also applies to the collective. Only when things get bad enough will people seek change. And we are seeing that. We are already seeing glimmers of it. We are entering a very powerful revolution energy with Pluto's move into the age of Aquarius. And astrologically speaking, this year is nothing is the way that it ever was before. So everything is going to be new. Nothing is as it was. And that's overwhelming to our egos. So sit down or lie down. Be gentle. You're supported. I am here for you. If anybody needs an extra little bit of space being held for them, or some tools and strategies themselves to help clear out anything on the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, feel free to reach out and book a one-on-one with me. I book by hour, 2-hour, and 3-hour increments, depending on how deep a dive you want to go. Because sometimes dealing with this stuff, an hour just isn't enough, and you want to really kind of pick something apart. And so, yes, I do 3-hour bookings. And that's worked great for a few people. So I am here. Okay, whatever the energy is, do not suffer in silence. Do not beat yourself up. Do not feel like you need to make a permanent decision for a temporary problem. This too shall pass. Please write that on a wall if you're really struggling. It's sometimes good to have validation and have a reminder that no matter what energy that you are currently transmuting and going through, and whatever suffering you're experiencing, and whatever collapse you might be going through, that it is transitory. That's a law of the universe. That isn't just, me saying whatever. That's the law of the universe. If you want examples, day turns to night, seasons change. Nothing ever stays the same. Absolutely nothing. Everything is always in a state of fluctuation and change. So even if you're currently in the worst of it, if you're experiencing excruciating pain, if you're experiencing excruciating emotional pain, and you feel like giving up, Just don't. Just breathe. Okay, that's all you need to do. I'm letting you know that the only thing that you need to do right now is sit down, lie down, and breathe. Okay, that's it. That's your only responsibility is just keep breathing, one breath at a time. Seriously. Just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on for one more day, one more hour, one more minute, and then do it again. And then do it again. And do it again. Because I am all too aware of how many people are really going through very, very, very trying times right now. And I am sending you all my absolute love. Wherever you are in the world, whatever you are facing, you are not alone. We are in this together. This is a collective, and I feel you. I feel you. And I love you. Peace out.